Maybe if you were home more, I wouldn't. That's what I said. That exact sentence. It came out of my mouth like a match I didn't realize I'd lit, and I watched the little flame catch everything that was still good between us. Alex didn't yell. He leaned his hip against the counter, set his keys down next to the fruit bowl like he always does, and blinked once. Slow, like a person taking a photograph in his head. It was 6:42 p.m. on a Tuesday. I know the time because the stove clock is always 7 minutes fast, and I reset it when I'm anxious. Okay, he said. Thanks for saying the quiet part out loud. He went to shower, like a man who won't try to change a tire in the rain. I stood in our kitchen with my racket bag still slung over my shoulder and realized how ridiculous it looked. Bright neon logo, dangling towel, like I was a teenager who'd just been dropped off by a minivan. My name is Jenna. I am 33, and last winter I made tennis my personality. I didn't mean to. It started because my doctor told me to find something weight-bearing and stress-lowering after a year of staring into the abyss of infertility blogs. Alex and I have been together 7 years, married 5, and the last 2 have been a blur of timed sex and peeing on sticks and appointments that make you sit with half your dignity under a tissue paper sheet. Alex picked up extra shifts to buffer our savings for IVF. I picked up a racket. The club is 10 minutes from our condo. Green awnings, tidy hedges, the kind of place where the water cooler has lemon slices and the bulletin board has a mix of pickleball schedules and lost gold hoop earring notices. I started with 1 clinic a week and a Tuesday night cardio tennis that played pop remixes too loudly. Then I met Marco. Marco is 39, Serbian, and exactly the brand of charming I used to think I was immune to. He knows every member's name and wrist injury. He wears a whistle like a joke and makes 30 grown adults feel like competently coordinated 12-year-olds. The first time he corrected my grip, he tapped my knuckles with 2 fingers and said, "Not death, Jenna." Firm but alive, and I laughed too hard for a thing that wasn't objectively funny. I booked a private lesson the next week. Then 2. Then a package because it's a better value. Then, somewhere between March rain and April mud, I started showing up every day. Not always a lesson. Sometimes a crowded clinic or just hitting on an open court with whoever needed a partner. A routine is good, my therapist said when I mentioned it, and I clung to that sentence like permission. Alex is a firefighter. His schedule is the color of a bruise. 24 on, 48 off, plus swaps and mandatory overtime because the city budget is a mess and fires don't respect calendars. There were weeks he was home for dinner once. He would text me at 6 p.m., "We've been on 3 calls already." Save me leftovers, and I would send a photo of a protein bar by way of confession because I'd be sweating on a court or stretching on the locker room floor watching the news with the volume down. Every day, he asked 3 weeks ago, trying to keep his voice from turning it into a closing argument. I thought we said 2 or 3 times a week. It makes me feel human, I said, tying my shoe in a way that made me look busy. Do you want me drunk on the couch? I found something healthy. Let me have this. He had nodded, the way people nod at a yield sign. Then today, he came home early because a water main broke and flooded half the station, and he was sent home while they fixed it. He walked in at 6:31 p.m., saw my bag, and said, "Did you go again?" The way you ask a friend if they went back to the same dentist who keeps botching their fillings. Yes, I said, defensive before accused. It was only an hour. Why do you see your coach every day? He asked, voice level. And I said it. Maybe if you were home more, I wouldn't. The thing about sentences like that is they fold in on themselves. If you try to reopen them later, what's inside has already spilled everywhere. He showered. I paced. He came out and sat at the table in a t-shirt and sweats, the ones that say City Fire on the thigh, and I realized I had never loved him more and respected him less than I did in that moment. More because he didn't storm, less because I had just tried to make him responsible for my lack of boundaries. Is there something I don't know? He asked. About you and Marco. No, I said. Too fast. We flirt. He flirts with everyone. Do you text? He asked. Everyone texts, I said, which sounded clever in my head and like an admission out loud. Jenna, he said in the voice he uses when he's trying to stop a fire from jumping floors. Do you text him outside scheduling? A little, I said. Memes. Tennis stuff. It's not a thing. He opened the Notes app on his phone and slid it toward me. A list. Reduce private lessons to 2/week. No texting after 9 p.m. Unless scheduling. No 1:1 lunches / drinks with coach. Transparency with messages if either of us asks for a while. Couples therapy. Book it. IVF calendar drives schedule, not tennis. He typed it while I was pacing. The men at the station probably make fun of him for being organized. They have no idea how gentle a list can be. This isn't punishment, he said, reading my face. It's me saying I don't feel safe, and here's what it would take to get me back to safe. It feels controlling, I said, because I've learned phrases like emotional labor and autonomy, and I wield them badly when I'm cornered. It is controlling, he said, not flinching. It's me controlling what I do in response to what you're doing. Marco's just a coach, Alex, I said. You're making him into a villain because you're insecure. He stared at a water ring on the table like it might be a map. Last Tuesday you charged $180 to the club at 9:48 p.m., he said. On our joint card. What is that? Lesson package, I said. They run the card at night sometimes. On Saturday you were at clinics from 10 to noon, and our ring camera caught you getting home at 3:10, he said, not angry, just presenting data. Did you go out for food? Yes, I said, relieved because that part was true. A group went for tacos. With Marco, he asked. I hesitated because it wasn't just Marco, it was half my clinic, including 3 women who text me photos of their forehands like proud parents. Yes, I said. Okay, he said. Then this is fixable. Choose me. Choose us. Act like you are married to a person, not to a hobby you've turned into a relationship. I should have grabbed the pen and added an item. Apologize for being cruel. Instead, I picked a fight about the word hobby. I made fun of the list. I rolled my eyes when he brought up therapy because it sounded like scheduling another failure. He went quiet the way men do when hope deflates. He slept on the couch that night. He didn't leave because he wanted to make me uncomfortable. He left the bed because he didn't want to turn my back into a wall. The next morning, I did a thing I wish I could say I hadn't done. I texted Marco. Me. LOL, guess who is suddenly jealous? Marco. Jealous is another word for attention. Tell him your athlete now, winking face. Me. He wants rules. No texting after 9, etc. Marco. My phone automatic good boy after 9, face with tears of joy. Me. You're an idiot. Marco. See one? Work on backhand and patience. He meant the patience part like a coach. I read it like a dare. I went to the 1 p.m. lesson that became a 2 p.m. smoothie that became a 3 p.m. I'll ride with you back to the club because my car is there, even though I could have walked. I didn't sleep with him. That is the sentence I want to carry into every room where this story gets told. We didn't sleep together. We did sit in his car listening to a playlist and laughing at a video of a kid who keeps missing his serve toss, and when he put his hand on the back of my neck to move a curl out of my face, I didn't move away fast enough. He kissed me. Once. Twice. The kind of soft, testing kiss that you can explain away in your head as a mistake while your body catalogs it. That night, Alex didn't ask me anything. He watched a game with the sound off and ate leftovers and went to bed early. The next morning, he took his coffee to the balcony and stared at nothing for 9 minutes. I timed it. That's how shame works in my head. Like a metronome. I tried to pull back. I canceled a lesson and blamed my wrist. I sent Marco a text with, "Let's cool it." He sent a thumbs up, then a photo of a dog in a headband 5 minutes later like nothing had shifted because that is safer. A week passed. I stuck to 2 lessons. I put my phone face down. I reached for Alex in bed and he turned, willing, warm, and it was like we were trying to put furniture back after a party in the dark. The problem with the boundary you already chewed through is that it doesn't hold anymore even if you sew it up. On Friday, at 9:26 p.m., my phone lit up on the counter while we were loading the dishwasher. We don't police each other's screens. Alex has never picked up my phone like a cop. But I watched his eyes flick toward it because my body went still before my face did. The preview said, "Miss your messy bun this morning, winking face," and the name wasn't Marco. It was a nickname. And I had saved it like a teenager. Alex closed the dishwasher, pressed start, and wiped his hands on the dish towel like he was cleaning soot. He picked up my phone, flipped it over, and set it back down gently. "I'm not going to read it," he said. "I don't want to be that person. I don't need to. You do the math. I told you. We flirt," I said, scrambling. "It's stupid. It's nothing." He nodded. "I believe you think that. Then, I'm going to stay at my sister's for a bit. Because of a text." I snapped, as if we were 2 polite colleagues discussing a calendar invite. Because I asked you to choose me, and the universe scheduled a pop quiz and you failed, he said. Not mean. Precise. He packed a bag while I stood in the doorway like a houseplant. He took his dress blues and his toothbrush and his running shoes and left the coffee grinder because he knows I wake up first. He left me the good pillow because he always has. He kissed his fingers and touched our wedding photo. It wasn't performative. It was a man saying goodbye to a decision he used to be certain of. The next morning he sent an email. Subject: interim boundaries. He listed them like the station lists assignments. I'll continue paying half the mortgage and utilities while we figure this out. I'm opening a separate checking account. Please direct deposit your paycheck to yours as well. We can transfer for bills. We'll close the joint after we land the plane. Please stop using the joint card at the club. I'm not telling anyone details, and I'm asking you not to either. If you want to work on the marriage, 1. Book couples therapy. 2. Write Marco a no-contact message with me CC'd. 3. Reduce lessons to twice a week at minimum and switch coaches. If you don't, I'll talk to a lawyer about a separation. Illinois is no fault. I don't want a war. I won't fight you for the condo if you can refinance it in your name. I'm available for pet care. We both know I'm better at meds. No late-night drop-ins. Text first. There it was, the checklist of a man who knows how to carry bodies out of bad rooms and how to leave them when they need to stay. I stared at the email for an hour. I wrote 3 versions of a reply that made me the brave one. Then I wrote the one I owed. I emailed the club manager and asked to switch coaches. She replied within 10 minutes. Of course. Also, to be transparent, our policy prohibits personal relationships between coaches and clients. If anything made you uncomfortable, please let me know. I didn't answer that second sentence because discomfort wasn't the right word. Reckless was. I wrote Marco the no-contact message. It was 2 lines. Hi. I'm stepping back. Please consider this a request for no contact outside scheduling through the front desk.
I'm switching coaches.
Wishing you well.
ICCD Alex. Marco replied. Understood.
Take care.
No emoji. No bleed.
Later that week I found out from a woman in my clinic that the manager had reassigned him to a different club location for now. I don't know if I started that or if it was already in motion because of someone else's boundary getting grazed. I know I hated that my choices might cost someone their job. I also hated that I had made my marriage their HR problem. I booked couples therapy. We walked into a room with tasteful plants and a woman who asked us both to say what we wanted. I want to feel like I'm not in competition with a hobby or a person who gets to meet my wife's needs without meeting any of her obligations, Alex said. I want not to be punished for my work schedule by being made the villain when I ask for basic intimacy. I want to feel desired, I said. I want to be more than a project we plan around our IVF calendar. I want to stop being lonely and then defensive when he calls it out. We lasted 3 sessions. Then the therapist asked me to read my own no-contact email out loud, and my face turned to lava. Alex listened like a man who had already decided to live with a different level of heat. 2 weeks later, he met with a lawyer. I'm not going to weaponize fault, he told me afterward. I'm not going to try to prove anything. I don't want discovery, Jenna. I want peace. He filed for divorce in Cook County.
No fault.
The petition said irreconcilable differences. Boilerplate words that mean 1,000 small cuts carried over months. His lawyer sent mine. Yes, I got one. Yes, you should. A proposed settlement that was boring and kind. I keep the condo if I can refinance within 90 days. He keeps his retirement. We split the savings. We close the joint. We share the dog like normal humans who like stability more than drama. Nobody pays the other alimony because we both work and our incomes are comparable. We each keep our own debt. He never forwarded the screenshots of my texts to anyone. He never DM'd Marco. He never showed up at the club with a scene. He never told my mother. He didn't write a long Facebook post about learning my worth. He just left. He moved into his sister's spare room and bought a Target dresser with instructions in 6 languages. He showed up for his shifts and for his life. Friends took sides without being asked. A few women from the clinic unfollowed me because they liked the story where I was the brave, sporty one better than this one where I was merely a person who made a mess and then tried to sop it up with policies. My friend Alana came over and sat on the floor with me among the broken pieces of a life I had enjoyed and tossed. You were lonely, she said. You still did a mean thing. Both sentences can be true. The condo was achingly quiet. The dog slept in front of the door waiting for the sound of Alex's keys, and I cried. I threw myself back into tennis, then stopped because denial looks like exercise if you do it hard enough. I canceled my membership for a month. I took walks without earbuds. I made dinner at home like an apology no one would eat. Marco texted once from a new number. I know I shouldn't, it said. I blocked it without writing a monologue because that is how adults end the scenes they started, and because sending that to Alex would turn me into a content creator when all I wanted was a life.
We signed the settlement in July.
The judge asked us perfunctory questions on Zoom and clicked something that made us unmarried. I cried in the 5-minute window after the hearing ended and before the screen went black. Alex said, "Be well," and that was the last time I heard his voice without a dog barking in the background of a handoff. Do you want to know how he won? He won by refusing to audition for the role of betrayed man with a speech at the end. He won by staying off the club's gossip circuit and out of my texts once the paperwork explained everything words couldn't. He won by insisting on boring fairness instead of TV justice. He won by not letting my "maybe if you were home more" sentence become a shield I could hide behind. The shield that would have let me say he abandoned me when the reality is I abandoned us inside a room with good lighting and a man who compliments backhands for a living. I still play. Not every day. I found a new coach. A woman who is blunt and mean about footwork in a way that feels like medicine. I don't text her. If I ever do, it will be about a stringing recommendation or a clinic time, and that's it. I show up, I hit, I go home. I am rediscovering the part where exercise is not my personality, but a thing my body gets to enjoy without blowing up my life. When people ask why we divorced, and they do, though they're polite about it, I say, we couldn't agree on the role of the third thing in our marriage. If they push, I say, I crossed a line I promised I wouldn't, and he left with dignity. It's the only version that doesn't lie. I think about the list he made sometimes. It's still in my notes app, a little museum of what could have been saved if I had treated it like a lifeline instead of a leash. Reduce lessons. No text after 9. Switch coaches.
Couples therapy.
IVF first. It looks so reasonable now. It looked like judgment when I read it through Marco's attention. A month after the divorce, I saw Alex running by the lake with a woman from his station and a couple of their friends. He waved. I waved.
He looked okay.
He looked like a man who knows where he is even when he has the sky and the water and a news cycle he can't control and a job that breaks people in half. He looked like his life had lanes again. If any part of you is reading this looking for a cheat code, here it is and you'll hate it. Leave your phone on the counter and show it to the person you say you love before they ask. If there is a message you can't bring yourself to read out loud, you either shouldn't send it or you should be honest that you want something your marriage doesn't have. If you find yourself making a hobby into a third person, stop before you make a person into a hobby. My worst sentence is still, maybe if you were home more, I wouldn't. I want to delete it from my mouth's memory. I can't. The best I can do is write new ones. I'm lonely.
I'm tempted.
I need you. Let's make a list. They don't sound as cinematic. They sound like someone ready to be loved on a Tuesday by a man who writes his boundaries like instructions for assembling a dresser he plans to keep for 20 years. Alex won by knowing the difference between a fire he could put out and a house that needed to be cleared before it collapsed. He didn't take me down with him. He put his helmet on, gathered what could be carried, and walked out. I'm the one sweeping up. I will be for a while. I hope the next person who loves me finds a kitchen with less ash and a stove clock that tells the truth.